I am basically an anti-war person. I do not believe that military solutions exist in this world, because when you try and solve one problem with a military operation, you actually end up creating a lot of other problems, as is the case with the Ukraine war, as was the case with Iraq war, in Afghanistan for 20 years. They created so many other problems. So here's someone who opposed all these wars. And so if I was consulted about the Ukraine war, I would certainly have advised not to go into that. Having said that, I have a certain...
If I may just interject there, because you have said this in the past and made the point that you opposed the Iraq war and you opposed the Afghanistan war. But you were very explicit in opposing those wars. You even stood in Hyde Park in London in 2003 and made a speech against the Iraq war. You condemned it very vociferously. Why are you not doing the same thing with the war in Ukraine?
Well, let me say one thing. I was going to explain why. The reason is that Pakistan has a future is tied up with Russia in terms of gas, oil, and specifically wheat, because we have to import wheat from Russia because of our 220 million population. So when you start condemning people, you're taking sides. Basically, taking moral stands on international issues is very good. But when your country stands to suffer as a result of it, you have to have the luxury to be strong and rich enough to start taking sides. My point of view in this is very simple. I was then the Prime Minister. 220 million of people of Pakistan elected me. Their main interest was that I look after the interest of the people. And therefore, we wanted to have the luxury of remaining neutral in this war. When I was condemning the Iraq war or the Afghanistan war, by the way, Afghanistan war directly affects Pakistan. We already have over 3.5 million refugees, Afghan refugees in Pakistan. So what happens in Afghanistan, we get affected. But then I was the Prime Minister of Pakistan. And so I was, as a civilian, as someone who doesn't believe in wars, I could speak my mind. But when you become the Prime Minister, your responsibility then becomes the people of your country. And in our case, 100 million Pakistanis are vulnerable, either below the poverty line or just above. So as a Prime Minister, that becomes my main responsibility.
And so do you still defend, for instance, the fact that you paid a visit to Moscow on the eve of the invasion? You had a meeting with Vladimir Putin on the very day the Russian invasion took place. You defend that, do you? You think that was okay to go ahead with that trip?
Well, Richard, the facts were that when I arrived in Russia, in Moscow, and the meeting was next morning. So when we woke up in the morning, that's when the invasion took place. So believe me, I wasn't consulted in that, and hardly did I know that this would happen. Had I known, I certainly would not have, obviously not have taken that trip. Just like everyone else. Richard, let me just explain to you. What about Kashmir? Now, India has usurped the rights of the people of Kashmir.
I'm sorry, Mr. Hunt.
Kashmir is a disputed territory between Pakistan and India. It's very important. But it's very important. No, Richard.
I'm sorry, but we're asking you a question about Russia
here,
very
Mr.
important.
Hunt.
And I don't want you to do a sort of whataboutism in time to talking about Kashmir. I would just like to ask one further question about your visit to Russia before we move on.
Richard.
I want to ask you this question.
I first want to move on and talk about Kashmir.
No, I'm sorry, Mr. Hunt. I'm the person who asks questions in this interview.
They matter to us. So what about us?
Yeah.
How about other people not worrying about our human rights and what matters to us? Why are we supposed to condemn issues which it's a European issue? So please, have some balance in this.
Mr. Hunt,
don't just put us in a spot that, you have to, because it's your issue, we have to take sides. Allow us the luxury to stay neutral. so that we can look after our own people. My responsibility, I repeat again, are my 220 million people of Pakistan.